Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you very much for attending. My name is Mark Sneider. I'm owner president of RSW US. For those of you that don't know us, we're an outsourced lead generation business development group that exclusively helps marketing service firms find new business by setting meetings, helping better position them in the marketplace, helping them move closer to close. And I've been in business since 2005. We have approximately 50 clients that we represent throughout the U.S. Many of you probably know annually we run surveys, about 3 or 4 a year, surveying both agencies, occasionally surveying marketers, try and gain some perspective on how things are being perceived in the industry, how things are operating in the industry, and the surveys are really designed to help you, the agency, new business person, or principal in improving the way in which you go to market to optimize your new business process, whether you use somebody in the outside or do it internally. Certainly there's value in learning from others and how they're doing it, and so that is our purpose. This year we decided, or this part of the year we decided to do things a little bit differently. We're the ones typically generating the questions. Occasionally we get questions submitted from Andy McMains at Adweek. And we decided to kind of open it up this year and created what we're calling a thought leader survey. It's the first annual of its kind. And what we did was we invited a specific number of thought leaders in the agency industry to submit questions for our survey. So want to just call out and thank those that we'll be highlighting today. The first is Baer. Second is Michael Gass, Paul Roetzer, Tony Mikas, Tim Williams, Tom Martin, and Pete Caputa. We'll be introducing each of them as we move through the presentation today. If you are interested in tweeting during today's webinar, you can either hashtag RSWUS or hashtag agency new business are the two that you can utilize. Those of you that signed up for the report or for the webinar today, will send you an advance copy of the report this Friday. We will be releasing it to the general public next week after Labor Day, so we'll send you an advance copy by this Friday. Okay, there's specific topics that each of the thought leaders focused in on, and Baer asked questions specific to SlideShare and LinkedIn. Michael asked some questions about the use and effectiveness of social media. Paul probed on some issues related to pricing. Tony Mikas focused on new business infrastructures and tools. Tim Williams focused on agency positioning. Tom Martin and Pete both focused on the area of inbound marketing. So those are the topic areas we're going to cover today. There isn't one sort of united theme that carries through the entire webinar, but some interesting facts and insights that hopefully you'll pick up as we move through each of these different sections. So our first chapter is Baer, and just for those of you that don't know Jay's a hype-free social media and marketing keynote speaker. He speaks often throughout the year. He's started 5 different companies. He's consulted for a variety of different Fortune 500 organizations. His blog is ranked as the #1 content marketing blog in the world, and he's authored a couple of books. If you want to learn a little bit more about him, you can visit his site at convinceandconvert.com. So the first question Jay asked was, does your agency publish content on SlideShare? And Social Media Examiner, independent group, calls SlideShare the quiet giant, quoted as saying data collected by ComScore indicated that SlideShare has 5 times more traffic from business owners than Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, which now owns SlideShare. So the question again that Jay asked, does your agency publish content on SlideShare? What we found that was that 79% of agencies said they do not use SlideShare. So Jay appropriately asked, those not using it wanted to really understand why don't you, or if you happen to be using it, why do you publish content on SlideShare? And there were basically 3 buckets of responses. One, and we'll get into each specifically here. The first was no time. The second was don't want competition to see what I'm posting. And then the third, more positive, is we use it and we like it. So those that responded no time, some of the open-ended responses, and by the way, in the report that you'll get on Friday, there's an addendum that lists all of the open-end responses to each of these open-ended questions. So a lot of good depth and insight that you should be able to pull from responses from other agencies. So, some agencies said, hey, look, we don't have the time to develop the content. Yeah, sure, we thought about it, but being small, we don't have the resources to commit to publishing on SlideShare, or we're behind the curve producing thought leadership content. And really, as we see it, it's the age-old agency new business problem of the story of the cobbler's children who have no shoes, because, obviously clients have to come first, and the agency's new business effort inevitably is going to come last. But, we would argue that the presentations that are postable on SlideShare may, in essence, already be done, and, the agencies don't realize that you have that content that is available. As we see it, you can take that great PowerPoint presentation you created for your last client pitch and alter it to take out anything confidential or specific, highlighting not only your expertise and knowledge, but your amazing creative as well. SlideShare is a great companion to agency new business because it's so visual and it's easily shareable across networks. The other response bucket was competition, and this is just kind of representative of the kind of response we got to why people don't use SlideShare. We know that others copy content. We don't want our client strategies to be understood by companies outside of our agency sphere of influence. But frankly, responses like this, while they're understandable, in our opinion, don't need to be a concern for agencies. The point of SlideShare, the main point in relation to agency new business, is to use it as a lead generator. You certainly don't need to share anything confidential, and you should use tools like SlideShare because the agency world is so competitive, can help set your agency apart from others that are out there. And then the third bucket was, more positive. We do use SlideShare and it does work. Some of the responses included inbound links and other opportunities to showcase our work for prospects. Shows the agency is new media savvy. We started publishing content on SlideShare years ago because it positions us so well in search results, so another benefit. And then finally demonstrates thought leadership, and it is effective. And we believe that these agencies are ahead of the curve by starting small, maybe, and committing to creating even one thought leadership piece a quarter is going to help set your agency apart. And in the report that we'll send you on Friday, there are a few links to different SlideShare resources that hopefully will be helpful and maybe give you some ideas on how you can begin your own SlideShare posting effort. The third question that was asked is, do your agency employees post multimedia content like photos, videos, presentations to the newly expanded LinkedIn profile pages? And 52% encouragingly answered affirmatively, which was great. Problem is agencies often miss new features on channels like LinkedIn. I know everybody's busy. They don't have the time to really be thinking about all the opportunities that exist out there. But photos, videos, presentations are ideal for prospecting efforts, especially on LinkedIn, where the majority of your prospects are. So Jay followed that question with this next question, which is, why do your employees, why do they or don't they post on the newly expanded LinkedIn LinkedIn profile pages. And one frequent response we got to the positive was because we require them to. In the report, there are a host of other responses that are definitely worth checking out. But this one in particular reminds us of Jeff Fromm's from Barclay, his presentation at the 2013 Mirren Conference, where he described Barclay's new business turnaround, and that he had specific numbers of individuals working on his new business within his agency. Really, it turned out his entire staff, and we would suggest that encouraging your entire team to participate will not only help the new business effort, but agency morale as well. I know here at RSW we get employees involved in blogging, tweeting on both the RSW side as well as the agency search side. We have different employees manage our Facebook page, which again, a lot of fun, builds morale, also keeps activity flowing in the social space. So our next chapter comes from Michael Gass. And for those of you that don't know Michael's an international new business consultant to advertising and other agencies. Since 2007, he's led the use of social media and content marketing to make agency new business easier. Founder of Fuel Lines. If you're not a subscriber to his releases, encourage you to go to fuelingnewbusiness.com and sign up. A lot of good content comes the way of Michael Gass. So Michael's first question, again, focusing on social media. Do you use social media as part of your new business program? And overwhelmingly, 92% said yes, which is very encouraging. And while this is great, what we find with our clients and agencies we talk to daily is the number one mistake agencies make when using social media is not following or interacting with their prospects. There are too many agencies still talking to each other, unfortunately. But on a positive note, another reason this high percentage is encouraging is more of your prospects are communicating this way. Just as in an example from our experience, an RSW new business director recently had a prospect tell her he didn't do voicemail and not a lot of email either, other than internal company communication. So in essence, he essentially communicated through social channels on his phone, Twitter being the main one. And we find here that we have to mix it up as well. We have new business directors using Twitter to not just follow prospects and gather intel from company Twitter feeds, but occasionally as we interact directly with the right prospect, actually setting meetings via Twitter, using LinkedIn, again, to complement other media platforms that we're using to reach out to prospects. Second question was, has your agency had success using social media to generate new business leads? And we found that 58% responded yes. Certainly would appear that agencies are more effectively using social channels to get new business, which is a great sign. There was a question that was asked here. If you have any questions, feel free to fire them over. I'll try and answer them either during or at the end. Somebody asked about receiving a copy of the presentation in addition to the survey, and the answer is certainly yes. We'll be posting this recording on our site, and we can make sure that we send you a link to it as well as a copy of the report. So our third question, briefly describe your agency's success or why you lack success using social media for new business. We saw several comments like these, or a mix of responses. Some were neutral to negative, but all of which I think even those negative ones can be addressable. So comments like these, we see it as another critical touch point, not the hook that's going to bring a client in. This one a little bit more negative, but continue to generate content for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., and to merchandise our activity on our site, but have yet to receive any value in return. And we've heard this last response from agencies before, and when we do, the first place we'd look in a situation like this is the value of the content that's being generated. we'd ask ourselves and the client, the agency, is it targeted to your prospect sector, or is it just general? Is it bringing value to your prospect's world, or simply rehashing others' thoughts, or is it doing, like we like to say, chest pounding and just simply talking about yourself? And most importantly, is it overtly selling? And that's the chest pounding thing. And if it is, then you really want to back off of that. And then there were some comments that were similar to this. Don't think it's a primary channel for our clients. This is an agency obviously saying this. And this respondent's comment, I think it's a viable point to consider, given certain sectors are still behind in their use of social media. So, you don't want to waste your time if that's the case. Social certainly is just one channel, and you don't want it to be the only one that you use when reaching out to prospects. Or we got some other responses like this. Our agency management is more convinced of the face-to-face approach. And frankly, we know from our experience at RSW that different marketers respond to different methods of outreach. I mean, heck, we're using mailings to lead each program's outreach to a prospect, and find that to be very effective in complementing all the other media that we do. So that's why you need to mix it up, use every channel available to better improve your chances of busting through. And then, of course, we got some, real positive comments like these. I've got almost 80,000 organic followers. This is an open-ended response. We produce a new white paper every week, so we have original content. They push out tweets against it. More than 60% of this agency's web traffic comes through our social links, which is fantastic. And then another agency principal said we had 2 clients contact us as a result of Facebook and Twitter postings. So all really positive. Michael's next question was, what is the most important social media platform for your agency's new business? And 46% of the respondents said LinkedIn. Roughly 24% of them said blogging. And while the majority of the agencies use LinkedIn, both Michael and we would tell you that when used in concert with other channels, blogging can be extremely effective. Understandably, agencies get quickly frustrated with blogging. It does take time, and it doesn't get any easier over time to come up with good original content, but it can be highly effective. It's certainly something that we've used very effectively. We encourage our clients to use it. Not only does it help from an SEO standpoint, but it's a great way to push your thought leadership content out there. Start small, be realistic. Even one sector-focused post a month highlighting your thought leadership is going to help your efforts. Key is activating it, not just letting it sit. Push it out to your prospects and let them see the kind of thinking that you can bring to the table. Chapter 3, Paul Roetzer. For those of you that don't know Paul is the founder and CEO of PR 2020, Cleveland-based inbound marketing agency. Met Paul at a HubSpot conference. Actually, it was Bolo back last year, and then again at HubSpot. He's the author of the Marketing Agency Blueprint, solid book. Would consider certainly giving it a look if you haven't. And his team can be reached at pr2020.com. Paul focused a lot on pricing, and so his first question was, what pricing model do you use for the majority of your services? Set project pricing rated highest at 37%, followed by billable hours at 34%, and retainers at 29%. Now, Paul and others have made a case over the past several years to do away with billable hours, and here's a quote from one of Paul's blog posts. He says, I discovered early on that the billable hour model was a flawed, archaic, agency-centric system that wrongly ties agency performance to outputs. And so that link that you see there, you can link to when you get the report on Friday. And then Avi Dan wrote in his Forbes piece, in the upside-down world of agency fees, is coming up with bad ads worth more than a good one. And he is quoted saying the biggest problem with hourly fees is that they do not separate the sheep from the goats. notes, by agreeing to pay up front for hours of work, not for ideas. Clients often pay equally for a bad idea as they do for a good idea. So, all that said, we looking at these results, it certainly would seem that billable hours is still viable, or at least ingrained in the agency culture, with 34% saying they use it. And, we see, just like these results, a range of different approaches used by, our clients. Our counsel would be to use the method that you and your client feel is fairest. And this next question kind of highlights and really showcases that. The next question that Paul asked was, how satisfied or not satisfied are your clients in general with your pricing model? And generally speaking, clients seem to be satisfied regardless of the method used. And that same sort of response was given in the open ends. Why do you use the pricing model that you do? Kind of all over the board, but generally speaking, regardless of the model, these agencies feel good about what they're doing. So I don't know that there is any one clear, definitive way in which you ought to pursue your pricing model. I think, again, that which you feel is fairest to you and is fairest to your client and they feel most comfortable with. So Chapter 4, Tony Mikas. Those of you that don't know Tony's been in the business for a good number of years. His agency, or his network of agencies called Second Wind, just celebrated their 25th anniversary. Second Wind is a powerful information resource designed with one thing in mind: helping smaller and mid-sized agencies, with their new business and improving their agency. He's got a lot of good content on his site, Second Wind Online. Certainly would encourage you to take a look. Tony focused again on new business infrastructure and different tools used. His first question centered on new business. Check the one response below that best describes your new business process, and responses are kind of spread across the board. Teams led by the principal was the number one answer, with 41% of agencies saying that that's how they manage their new business process. And it's encouraging to see such a high percentage of agency principals taking the lead in the new business process, but it can also be a double-edged sword. Those agency principals that can be objective and recognize when it makes sense to have others involved most often succeed in the new business game. If they try and take too much control or control without sort of engaging others, can be a real setback for a new business process. And oftentimes objectivity is difficult. We see it, what an agency principal believes is new and different sometimes is very easy for other agencies to call out and claim ownership of the same sort of thing. So key is to be objective and take the step back, maybe get others involved and get some perspective to help you out. Question number 2, Tony asked, is how effective or not effective is your new business process? And over 50% encouragingly said that their new business process was either effective or highly effective. Certainly why this is cause for celebration. We talk to countless agencies who don't have the time or sales background to maintain a new business process. And those we talk to whose programs are doing well are often solid due to referrals and networking. And we know just from our experience that these avenues don't last forever. However, at the very least, are sporadic in their timing, and the best time to invest is when business is doing well. And again, we see it all the time when agencies come on board at RSWS. Business has been built up through networking and referral. At some point that begins to slow down. There aren't as many companies out there as there used to be. There are fewer marketers operating in these organizations to move around and carry you from one place to the next. So it's a natural sort of life cycle in the new business process. Question 3 is, do you practice shameless self-promotion using available tactics to build awareness of your agency, brand, people, creative work, etc.? 60% of agencies said yes to this question, and it should be noted that Tony's definition of shameless self-promotion, as well as ours, comes from the position of thought leadership and not overtly pushy sales tactics. We do find too many agencies don't take the time to highlight their thought leadership or success, and there's certainly a difference between talking about your agency incessantly to the exclusion of the prospect and showcasing that your agency gets it and is expert in this space. So, certainly want to build awareness for the agency, but want to do it in a way that's thoughtful and smart, and, as we like to say, in a way that sort of subtly sells your agency by getting that prospect to check the boxes as you're kind of working through a conversation with them. And Tony's fourth and last question was, which agency self-promotion tactic do you find most beneficial for generating leads? The top ones were content marketing, press releases, social media, client case studies, and agency blogs. So kind of all over the board. I'm sure there isn't one that is definitively the be-all and end-all. If there was, it would be way too easy of a game, and I guess there would be lots of extremely successful agencies out there. But it is a mix of different things. We mix it up. You certainly should mix it up as you try different tactics to try and build awareness and credibility for your agency. So it's encouraging to see, again, so many channels being used. Reaffirms the importance of client case studies, content marketing. The true key to success here is, as I said just a moment ago, is utilizing multiple channels. It's the approach that we take, and certainly the approach that you should consider as well. So our fifth chapter is Tim Williams. For those of you that don't know Tim, Tim and his consulting group Ignition is a leading knowledge hub for marketing communication professionals. Ignition exists to provide not just information but insights designed to help make you and your firm more valuable. You can learn more about Tim and his consulting group at ignitiongroup.com. So Tim's first question, and his questions all centered around agency positioning, was, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statement, that our agency has a focused positioning strategy designed to attract clients that want us for what we do best? Most believe that they do have a very focused positioning, which on its face is fantastic. I mean, it seems like everybody really has it together, which is great. But it's been our experience, as I mentioned earlier, that many agencies may believe that their positioning is focused and designed to attract clients when, in fact, it's at best generic or worst hurting them. Agencies should never take for granted, that their positioning is rock solid without the opinion of somebody on the outside, current client, other industry professionals, to try and get some kind of unbiased opinion. Just recently went through a introductory brochure with a new client of ours that talked a lot about very generic things like insights and strategy and things that any agency could talk about, and really need to try and dial down to find the reasons to believe that a marketer would want to take the time to sit down and listen to your story. What are you going to bring to the table that's new and different, new way of thinking, new perspective that's going to help them down a better path? So you got to walk away from the things that are predictable that any agency can talk about and find elements that really help set your way of thinking or your perspective or approach apart. Tim's second question was, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statement, our agency has a core set of values that guide our business dealings with clients, associates, and business partners. Again, strong agreement. A large number of agencies feel that they have that set of core values that guide them as they move through their process. But frankly, it's a surprise to see that the agreement isn't closer to 100%, because without those core values, it makes it harder to guide your team, whether managing current clients or pursuing new business. And frankly, every employee should have an idea of what those core values are. At RSW here, we created what we call the painted picture of our organization. It's a series of questions that I answered that somebody said they lost the sound, but if you maybe check your speakers. Anybody else have issue with the sound? Okay. It's a process whereby I answered a specific set of questions about kind of my vision of the organization, and so folks hear me loud and clear, so sorry about that. It really helps help kind of paint the picture for my organization to understand where we wanted to go, what our purpose was in servicing our agency clients, and it's something that we reiterate often in our quarterly meetings. Every new employee gets this little booklet about the painted picture. So, it's important. Bottom line, it's important that all your employees understand kind of where you're going and what your mission is and what your priorities are as it relates to your clients. One point to make in regards to new business, do your best to show those values to clients and prospects rather than talk too much about them, especially early in the relationship. Agencies tend to talk a lot about philosophy and values to the point that the prospect potentially is going to shut down. While a part of the agency and important to the culture, merely talking about them or talking about them too much isn't what a prospect is really interested up front. So, go to an agency site and 10 agency site, and you're going to probably see a lot of the philosophy and belief systems spelled out on the agency website. Probably not necessarily the best place to be showcasing all of that. Certainly want to kind of establish some foundation, and when you're in front of a prospect or on the phone with a prospect, you don't want to be talking a lot about that. I mean, let that come out in terms of how you explain how you helped other clients or how you can potentially help them, and those principles and those values will just show themselves without having to directly articulate them. Tim's third question was, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statement? The people who work at our agency are inspired by a sense of purpose that transcends just making money. Don't we want all of those kind of employees working in our agency? But fairly solid. Most agencies believe that the employee base is inspired by a sense of purpose, which is fantastic. But never underestimate that driving inspiration that is making money. But as the past several years have shown at agencies, even when individuals are making money, they'll ultimately leave if not happy. And if they can't afford to leave and still aren't happy, that's obviously even worse. So, of course, it's just a balancing act. Trying to inspire a sense of culture and goodwill within your agency, tempered by the desire and need to really serve the client and do well by them. Chapter 6 is Tom Martin, and for those of you that don't know Tom, Tom is a 20-year veteran of the ad agency industry, over half of which has been spent leading new business efforts, here with a kind of a knack or desire or penchant, I guess it is, for stiff drinks, good debates, and digital gadgets. He helps agencies create innovative and effective digital marketing strategies and shows them how to painlessly prospect their way to more clients, and he can be reached at conversedigital.com. Tom's questions, like Pete's at the very end, focus on inbound marketing. His first question is, does your agency have a formal inbound business development program where you are creating and sharing content on the web that is designed to be found by prospects, prospective clients, when you who then contact you? And it was almost dead even in terms of the agency response to this. It is impressive that so many agencies, 49% of them, said that they do have an inbound program. One of the biggest challenges we see from agency clients beyond maintaining new business programs is creating content for the effort. Even with our programs at RSW, sometimes getting our clients to post a blog once a month or review content that maybe we develop for the program can sometimes be difficult. So, developing content in support of an inbound program can certainly be challenging. And that's what's going to prevent, at the end of the day, many agencies from either starting or maintaining an inbound effort. Further to that challenge is a difficulty many agencies have in disseminating the content once it's created. With so many viable options, it can become daunting, and it can frankly become very time consuming in having to post everything on every viable media channel. So what we recommend is start slow. Don't overdo it. Make sure you're doing the appropriate follow-up on the leads you do get in. Otherwise, the whole program is going to be fairly worthless. We have a client that kind of got involved in one of the inbound marketing programs to kind of complement the work that we were doing, and actually they were kind of doing it on their own. We found out sort of after the fact that they had been doing this and really put a lot of effort into it, but they didn't do a lot of follow-up on the prospects that were coming into their agency, and so we now have tried to link up a little bit closer with them to help them now that we know that program existed. But because they weren't doing the follow-up, really the inbound program that they had established wasn't all that effective for them. So really, inbound is effective, and it works extremely well for us at RSW and can work extremely well for agencies, does for our client programs when we get inbound leads off of things that we push out on behalf of our client agencies. But the key is effective following up with calls and emails, not just letting those leads sit. So Tom's next question was, please explain why you do or don't have a formal inbound business development program. And some of the responses we got were, we're just too lazy or busy working on our client's business. Another comment we heard in relation to an inbound program, we have the beginnings of one, but we have trouble getting out of our own way. And for this, reasons for this can be too many staff members involved. Maybe it's not focused enough. Maybe agencies doubting there's anything to write about, or lack of organization via editorial calendar, for example. So again, recommendation is to start small and begin building from there. Certainly several agencies in response to our question saw a lot of value in inbound marketing. One in particular said, because we can't hunt anymore, we must learn to farm, and this is the way we do it. Or another agency said, to make content work for your agency, one quality blog post, survey report, white paper a month is an excellent place to start. This particular agency said it's a great way to share our thinking and provide value to our prospects. So clearly, inbound has a tremendous amount of value if done properly, if maintained, if followed up effectively, and as part of a larger program. Tom's third question, actually his last question, was, what do you most often do with the leads you get from inbound business development programs? And 68% of respondents said that they call them, which is great. It's good certainly to see such a high percentage of agencies actually following up on those leads. But often, with those that are followed up on, we find that they don't have any sort of plan when they do call or email. And again, it's all about creating an organized outreach effort, knowing how you're going to go into those calls, knowing what sort of content you're going to put in those follow-up emails. And certainly the follow-up strategy depends on the information the lead gives the agency, if there is any, but where we see agencies drop the ball in addition to follow-up is not moving the potential relationship forward in that initial call, or that initial meeting. So you don't want to alienate the prospect by being overly pushy, but once you've asked relevant questions about the prospect's challenges, certainly respectfully ask for that second call or face-to-face meeting, knowing and articulating the value that you can bring to that prospect in that second engagement. So our last chapter is from Pete Caputo. Pete is VP of Sales at HubSpot. He oversees 120 sales folks. Each of these salespeople work with different marketing agencies, helping them to secure longer and larger retainer work and retain those accounts by delivering ever-improving ROI. They help more than 1,200 agencies generate tens of thousands of new leads, and Pete and his group can be found at HubSpot.com/partners if you're interested in learning more about Pete and HubSpot. Pete's first question was, what % of your monthly revenue is from long-term retainers, where you perform a consistent amount of work each month and charge a consistent fee each month? And fairly spread out in terms of the responses to how agencies, the number and amount of revenue that is generated from long-term retainers. With these answers fairly spread, it's a testament to the cyclical nature of retainer agreements. Certainly agencies have seen retainers shrink in duration as marketers tend to move against agencies or use multiple agencies depending on a project. It certainly leaves open many more opportunities for agencies to win new business if they're opening to starting on projects and working their way up the food chain. And many RSW clients, build relationships by starting this way, by opening up the door through a project relationship, building up credibility, and finding their way to larger and larger engagements. Pete's second question was, what % of your clients would say that the services our agency provides consistently helps us grow our traffic, leads, and sales every month, month over month? They measure and improve the ROI of their services every month. The answer to this question is certainly dependent on what kind of agency is answering and the specific needs of the client. So, we're seeing a wide range of responses, and it really depends on kind of, are you there to drive leads into the organization, or are you there to, build a new brand profile or build awareness through other means? So it is a little dependent on how, what kind of agency you are and what your task is for that client. But as an ever-increasing number of marketers focus on return on investment and are responsible for justifying how their marketing drives leads and sales, which is growing, agencies are going to need to provide this type of data is a matter of course. We see it every day. We hear it in the conferences that we go to, Bolo, Marin. We get it from marketers that come to us on the agency search side looking for new agencies, feeling like their agency isn't keeping them ahead of the digital and social curve, and they don't do a good job of staying on top of the digital space in terms of understanding what is effectively working to drive their business. So that sort of perspective and those kind of demands, they're there today and they're just going to keep growing. So regardless of what kind of agency you are and regardless of what kind of demands your clients are placing on you now, you're going to see these things happen more and more. And so if you don't have the resources inside to do it now, find a good strategic partner that can help you get there. Clients understand that not every agency is going to have all those resources inside their organization. Certainly nice if they do, but not a requirement for every marketer to make sure that every agency has everything they need. So as they've got a good relationship, they've got some proven success or track record in having worked with that strategic partner, that should be satisfactory to most marketers, knowing that their business is going to be covered and you're going to be on top of it. So our third question from Pete was, which of the following sales, marketing, and services activities do you perform regularly in order to acquire and retain accounts? And this might be a bit of an eye chart, so I'll just tell you the top responses were prospecting, setting up exploratory conversations, presenting a solution, and reviewing results with clients. And the one that received the lowest number of responses was generating opt-in leads. So the things, a little bit more active in terms of outreach, in terms of setting up conversations, in terms of actively presenting solutions and reviewing results. Those things are the things, according to agencies, that are most effective in helping them drive new business. So, it's, again, inbound is important. It's an important way to identify high-value prospects, but at the end of the day, you have to do something to move that ball ahead. Okay, you come out of an introductory sort of meet and greet conversation or exploratory conversation. You have to then take that ball and think through, as you're in that conversation, how you can carry that forward and what sort of value you can bring to that prospect. If you think that prospect is worth their weight and somebody you want to be working with, you've got to be thinking proactively as you're talking to that prospect about how to move that ball forward. And when it's all said and done, agencies exist for one reason, to find a solution for your client, whatever it specifically may be. And too often agencies forget that it starts up front with the agency new business development process. Your end goal is to provide the solution that will solve the prospect or future client's problem. You don't have to give it all away in order to effectively do what we're saying you need to do here. The reach out, content, meeting strategy should always be based on this guiding principle to ensure success. And as I said, just a moment ago, while inbound is certainly an important element in the overall new business process, and we see from these responses that outreach is by far the most dominant means of connecting with prospects. While it's all important, you need other elements in order to make your outreach and your overall new business development process work. So, once that connection is made with the prospects, it's about presenting solutions, showcasing results to convince them that you've met their challenge or you've dealt with similar challenges with success and can handle their current challenge with similar success. We've presented this webinar, not this, but another webinar, Check the Boxes, numerous times over the years, and we've shared it with clients who have will not patting ourselves on the back here, but will sing that webinar's praises in terms of getting them focused on the things they need to do leading up to meetings, when they're in meetings, and coming out of meetings. And if you haven't seen it, I'd encourage you to go to our site and download it. It's recorded just like this is going to be recorded, and there are elements in there that certainly can help you. So that concludes today's webinar. Again, I want to thank our thought leaders for participating in this survey and report. As I mentioned, the report will be sent to you on Friday. Post Labor Day, we'll be pushing it out en masse, so you'll have an advanced look at it. And then post Labor Day, we're going to be conducting interviews with as many of the thought leaders as are willing to participate to get their perspective on the answers to their questions, and we'll be posting those interviews either on our blog or directly on our site. And if you need to contact any of the thought leaders, if you're interested in speaking with any of them, when you get the report, there are links to their site, or feel free to reach out to us, and we'll certainly make the connection for you. So thank you very much. Really appreciate the time. Hopefully this was helpful. The report has even more meat on the bones in terms of perspective, and as I mentioned, the open-ended comments are there in full, so hopefully some of that perspective from other agencies will be of value to you. So thanks so much. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and y'all take care. All right? Bye now.